They didn't even wait for dessert. My mom's voice cut through the laughter of the restaurant, her words colder than the ice water in front of me. "Wendy, we wish you were never born." My father nodded, smirking, while my sister Emily covered her mouth like she was trying to hide her satisfaction. The whole table went silent, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. Everyone stared at me, some in shock, others in agreement. At my own graduation dinner, the people who were supposed to love me most had just buried me with words sharper than a knife dot. Before I continue, hit subscribe and share this story so more people see how the underdog can rise when no one believes in them. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. I laughed. Not the kind of laugh they expected, not broken or small, but sharp, steady, and terrifying to them. My father's brow furrowed. "What's so funny, Wendy? You think this is a joke?" Emily leaned forward, smug. "You're a disappointment. No job, no prospects. You'll always be nothing." The waiter awkwardly set down the food, pretending not to notice the venom dripping across the table. But I noticed the way my relatives leaned in, waiting for me to crumble. That's what they wanted. Wendy, the failure, the punchline of the family dot. But what none of them knew was that for the past 4 years, every late night, every tear they ignored, every cruel word they threw at me, I had turned it into fuel. They thought I was weak. They thought I was empty. They thought I had nothing dot. And that's when I calmly placed an envelope on the table, sliding it toward my father. His smirk faltered the moment his eyes caught the bold letters on the front. His fork clattered onto the plate. How did you get this?" I leaned back, keeping my voice steady. "Since you all think I was born for nothing, maybe it's time you learned what I was really building while you laughed at me." And that was the exact second the room shifted. Every eye locked on me, every whisper growing louder, the tension thick enough to choke on Dot. My father's hands shook as he tore the envelope open, his eyes scanning the papers like they were written in fire. Emily leaned across the table, her diamond bracelet glinting under the lights, desperate to see what had rattled him. My mother's face twisted, the color draining from her cheeks. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice barely holding steady. "It's not possible," my father muttered, clutching the document like it might vanish. Emily snatched one page, her eyes widening as she read aloud. "Wendy owns the company building downtown?" Her voice cracked on the last word, the same voice that had mocked me for years. Gasps spread across the room. My uncle nearly dropped his glass. My mother's fork froze midair. My family had been mocking me for being a failure, while I had been buying pieces of their world right under their noses. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I looked each of them dead in the eye and said, "For years, you all called me worthless. But I didn't waste my time crying. I built, I invested. I turned every insult into a foundation brick. That building, that's just the beginning." Emily's jaw tightened. "You're lying. You don't have the money for this." She laughed, nervously, looking to my parents for support. But my father wasn't laughing. He was sweating. Because he knew the documents in his hand were real, signed, sealed, undeniable. Dot the waiter, who had overheard enough to understand something explosive was happening, backed away slowly, giving the family their stage. The restaurant around us felt frozen in time, every clink of a glass and shuffle of a chair drowned by the heavy silence at our table. My mother finally broke it, her voice trembling. "Wendy, how? Where did you get this kind of money?" Smiled, but not warmly. "Let's just say, while you all were too busy wishing I was never born, I was too busy making sure I'd never need your approval." The words stung, but that wasn't the twist that broke them. Because I wasn't done, I leaned forward, lowering my voice so only our table could hear. "And if you're this shocked by one building, wait until you find out what else has my name on it." The table erupted into gasps and whispers, But deep down, they all knew the girl they tried to erase had just become their biggest nightmare. Dot. Emily slammed her napkin onto the table, her face flushed red. This is ridiculous. You expect us to believe you went from broke to owning skyscrapers? Stop pretending, Wendy. You're still nothing without us. Her words were venom, but her shaking hands gave her away. I tilted my head and chuckled. Funny you say that, Emily, because while you were too busy showing off on Instagram, I was negotiating with investors. Do you remember the startup you laughed at? The one you said was a waste of time? That's the company whose shares funded every property I now own. Her smirk shattered instantly. My father's face turned pale, his lips pressed together as if he wanted to curse but couldn't form the words. He had told everyone in the family that I was a burden, a mistake. Now the truth was burning through his lies. My mother tried to recover, forcing a shaky laugh. Even if that's true, Wendy, you'll never handle the responsibility. Money doesn't make you family. You'll come crawling back when you fail. I leaned closer, my voice calm but sharp. Crawling back? No, Mom. It's you who'll be crawling soon. Because some of those properties you depend on, the shops, the rentals, they don't belong to you anymore. The moment those words left my mouth, the silence at the table felt suffocating. My uncle's wife dropped her glass. My cousins exchanged stunned looks. Emily's mouth opened, but no words came out. Then I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. On the screen was a news article scheduled to go live the next morning. The headline read, "Local family business acquired by private investor. Revealed to be young graduate Wendy Carter." My father snatched the phone, his eyes scanning the article as if each word was stabbing him in the chest. His empire, his pride, his entire legacy, reduced to a headline that put my name where his should have been. Emily shot up from her seat, her chair screeching against the floor. "You can't do this. Dad, say something." But my father was silent, staring at the article like he had just seen his entire world collapse. I sat back, calm, letting the weight of the moment crush them. All my life, you wished I was never born. Maybe that was your biggest mistake, because now, the very daughter you tried to erase is the one who controls everything you thought you owned. The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath, waiting for their reaction. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of their downfall. My father's fist slammed against the table so hard that silverware rattled and glasses tipped. "You don't understand what you've done, Wendy. You've destroyed this family." His face was crimson, veins bulging in his neck. I didn't flinch. "No, Dad. You destroyed this family the moment you decided your pride was worth more than your daughter." Emily was pacing now, her heels clacking against the floor. "This is a setup. You forged those papers. There's no way you're smarter than all of us." She grabbed my phone like she could erase the headline by sheer force, but the waiter quickly intervened, placing it back in front of me with a cautious glance. Even he looked shaken. My mother, her voice suddenly trembling with desperation, reached across the table. "Wendy, please. You don't know how business works. Your father built everything from the ground up. You can't just take it away." I leaned forward, my eyes locked on hers. "You're right. I didn't just take it away. I outsmarted him. While he was busy mocking me, I studied him. Every deal, every weakness, every arrogant move, and I built a path to take it all." The room around us seemed to shrink. Even the distant chatter of other diners had faded. All eyes were on us. My father's hands shook as he shoved the papers back at me. "This won't hold up. You think investors will follow a little girl? You think the world will respect you?" I smiled, slowly. "They already do. In fact, half of your board signed. With me last month. They didn't want to be dragged down by your ego anymore." Emily gasped, covering her mouth. But it was too late. The truth was crawling across their faces like poison. My father looked as if someone had ripped the ground from under him. My mother's eyes filled with tears, not for me, but for the empire they realized was slipping through their fingers. I pushed back my chair, standing tall, towering over the family who once wished I'd never been born. For years you treated me like dirt. Tonight, you're sitting across from the owner of everything you thought you controlled, and I promise you, this is just the first taste of what's coming. The silence that followed was louder than any scream, and just as I turned to leave, my father whispered, his voice cracking, "What else did you do, Wendy?" I paused, a small smirk tugging at my lips. "Oh, you'll find out soon enough." I walked toward the exit, but I didn't rush. I wanted every step to echo, every second to remind them that the failure they mocked had just flipped, their world upside down. People in the restaurant whispered as I passed, their eyes darting from my shaken family to me. The daughter they had humiliated minutes ago, now standing untouchable. "Wendy, wait!" Emily's voice cracked like glass. She stumbled after me, mascara streaking her cheeks. "You can't leave us like this. We're family." I stopped at the doorway and turned. The sight of her begging almost made me laugh. "Family?" I repeated. "Family doesn't wish their daughter was never born. Family doesn't mock, doesn't humiliate, doesn't break you down just to feel taller. You made sure I grew up without a family. Now, you're finally getting the same." My mother buried her face in her hands, whispering through her sobs, "This isn't fair." My father sat frozen, staring at the documents like they were his death sentence. The man who once thought he was untouchable had nothing left to say. I pulled one last envelope from my bag and tossed it onto the table. "That," I said coldly, "is the final notice. The house you're living in, it's no longer yours. You'll be moving out by the end of the month." Gasps broke out. Emily shook her head violently. "No, you wouldn't." "Oh, I would," I cut in, "because you wanted me erased from this family. Congratulations. You're about to know exactly how it feels." The room went dead silent as I turned and walked away, my heels striking the floor like a drumbeat of victory. For years, they made me feel small, invisible, disposable. Tonight, I left them broken, powerless, and exposed. The best part? This was just the beginning of my story. The girl they wished was never born becoming the woman they could never escape.